Hello BookTube, it's Ben here from the History Fellow channel. Here today with a video which is going to be like a little series on different subjects, because what I find being a book blogger type person is that people often ask me for my opinions on which books to read, or they'll say, you know, I want to get more into the Second World War, or learn more about the US Civil War. Which book should I read is what they'll generally ask. And rather than being specific, I'm going to kind of give a list of about maybe 9-10 books that people should, that I would recommend people read. I'm not saying they're the definitive ones, because when you think about the World War II, First World War, or the US Civil War, there are so many books written each year on the subject, and for one to stand out is almost impossible. So it's best for people to pick and choose, or look around and see what they like. But I'm going to recommend a number of books on each particular subject. And for this particular video, we'll start with I'm going to call it the US Civil War Newbie Guide, to kind of give people an idea of some of the books they could start off with. But like I said, you know, there are loads of books out there, and you could ask me for 10 books that I would recommend, ask someone else, and then they'll recommend another 10, and so on down the line. And there isn't really a definitive sort of few books you should read and you get all the information. You need to read a number of books. So to get start off with, I'm going to recommend a few general books, because rather than diving into something specific, I personally feel like you've got to get a general overview. So the book I'm going to start off with is this book here. Is called The People's History of the Civil War. It's a nice thick tome, but then everything about the US Civil War, there's lots of information. That's called A People's History of the Civil War, Struggles for the Meaning of Freedom. And that's written by David Williams, a New Press People's History. Yeah, that's by the New Press. A thoroughly good book, gives you an excellent overview of the whole Civil War, and it kind of looks at life from the actual people of America, what they think of the war and what they went through and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a look at the lives and experiences of the everyday person, and that's an ideal book, a good read. And the next book might surprise some of you, but I bought this book whilst I was at university studying for A-levels, and this one's called The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Civil War. Now you might think maybe this is a bit too basic, but actually I think it's probably this book and another book that really sold the US Civil War to me. It's packed full of information, diagrams, maps, information, points of trivia, just kind of, if you want an all-over book, all-overview book, then this was an ideal read. And this is called The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Civil War, written by Alan Axelrod from Alpha Books. So I can recommend that. The other one I've got on Kindle, which is, you should get a picture up here of it as well. This Hallowed Ground by Bruce Catton. A really good book, very comprehensive in detail, and it kind of really is quite well known in US Civil War circles that, you know, this is definitely a book to read. So I would recommend this Hallowed Ground by Bruce Catton. Right, the next one, another one I'm probably going to just recommend. Probably not for your newbie, but certainly once you've got into the subject and you want to kind of learn more in depth or more opinions, is I would certainly recommend getting Shelby Foote's trilogy. This is book number 3, and as you can see, it is a decent size, and the other 2 books are of equal size as well. This one's book 3 in the trilogy, the Civil War narrative from Red River to Appomattox, and again by Shelby Foote and published by Pimlico. But that's a good decent book, and Shelby Foote certainly knows his stuff, although I find him a bit dry if he's talking in public and that, maybe a little long-winded, but certainly he knows his stuff and he's an excellent historian. Right, the next part of I'm thinking about is the US generals, people that took part for the Unions and the Confederate. We will start with the Union side. I would highly recommend learning more about Ulysses S. Grant if you would like to know more about him. I'd recommend Grant by Ron Chernow. Price this copy's at £15 by Head Zeus Books. Certainly another long read, as you'll see, another thick tome. But one that really explains his life, his skills, his tactical management in battle, and also goes on to mention when he becomes United States President as well. And just a really decent read, but I will admit that it's a long read, so you're going to have to be a bit determined when you're reading this book. But it's a really good book, and you do learn quite a bit about the man, about his military tactics and that sort of thing. As for the other side, the other main player for the Confederates was Robert E. Lee. I've got this on Kindle as well. Let me just get to a picture. Right, you should have a picture come up here again of this book, because I've got this copy on Kindle, and that is Robert E. Lee, a biography by Emory M. Thomas. A really good book, kind of a good all-round look at Robert E. Lee, his life, his tactics, how he saw the military battlefield himself, and obviously with the Confederates losing, it's kind of good to read a book that's about someone who's actually lost, because then you get the other side of the man as well in the book, and it's certainly a good read, and one that's widely recommended as well by other Civil War historians. The next book, or the next, let me just sort my books out. Another prominent person obviously in the Civil War was Abraham Lincoln. Now I've never actually really found a brilliant book on Abraham Lincoln, certainly one that's specifically for the Civil War. I've kind of read quite a few and kind of found, chunks of each particular book I like and have enjoyed, but I've never found one that I find the whole book really works. But what I would recommend is where you learn an awful lot about Abraham Lincoln, is The Team of Rivals, quite a well-known book now. The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln by Doris Kearns Goodwin. Very comprehensive, very detailed. I must admit, I think this probably took me a couple of weeks to read from start to finish. But it gives you a really good, view of the man himself, Abraham Lincoln. Looking at him more personally, his family reasons, how he got on with other politicians, other rivals for his job and in other parties, and it's just really good. And I can't recommend this more highly. It's a brilliant book, and probably the best one I know of for Abraham Lincoln, that kind of covers a wide area of the spectrum. And then finally, I've got two books here I would recommend, both on battles. As you will all know, especially if you're American, most of the US Civil War revolves around many battles. And I've picked out two books that I found really good and really appealed to me. This one's called Gettysburg, Stephen W. Sears. And this one is a winner of the Fletcher Pratt Award, but it's published by Mariner Books. And this one you'll find has absolutely packed with detail, very comprehensive. If you want to know, it's kind of like an ultimate book to the Gettysburg, I found, but it's a really good book. And certainly this one I would recommend if you want to learn specifically about the Gettysburg battle. And the last book is called The Cornfield, and this follows the Battle of Antietam's Bloody Turning Point by David A. Welker, and published by Casemate Publishing. I highly recommend this one, and as most of you will probably already know, Antietam was the bloodiest war in the US Civil War, and certainly a really good read, so I would recommend that as well. But anyway, they're the books I would recommend if you want an overall picture of the US Civil War, and then you want to start getting a bit more specific. You can have a look at some of the military leaders and some of the battles that took place. And that's my US Civil War newbie guide. So thank you very much for watching. If you've been reading certain books and you would highly recommend them, leave them down in the comments down below, or just anything about the US Civil War. If you want to leave any bits of information or recommendations for anything, please feel free to do so. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then please do. As I said earlier, I will be doing newbie guides to various other subjects. I've got in mind World War II, World War One, probably some more about the Napoleonic Wars, and also probably some stuff on royalty as well, royal families around the world. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please take care, and I shall see you next time with another video.